Our next speaker is Art Wangperawong. He's a distinguished engineer at U.S. Bank. He's applying he's applying ML and AI to solve problems across the organization. Art leads machine learning and artificial intelligence projects across corporate and retail banking. In this role, he identifies and evaluates business opportunities with strategic product potential, market and technology trends, key providers, legal, regulatory climate, and profitability. Art also conducts research and development, representing U.S. Bank to internal stakeholders, customers, and partners. Please join me in welcoming Art to the stage.
Thank you very much. So as a disclaimer, the views and opinions expressed in this presentation are those of the authors, me, and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any agency of U.S. Bank. Examples and analysis performed within this presentation are only examples. They should not be utilized in real-world analytic products, as they are treated only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of any position of U.S. Bank. Furthermore, nothing contained in this presentation should be considered investment advice. Okay, let's see here. So let's talk about transforming with artificial intelligence and how to unlock possibilities of working smarter with machine learning and AI. Again, my name is Art Wangperawong. I'm a distinguished engineer for artificial intelligence at U.S. Bank. Let's talk about finding the wisdom on your AI journey. So my AI journey, your AI journey, your company's AI journey is all actually different, because we're all trying to figure out how do we use AI for our business or our productivity and development. And we're on different paths and different parts of the journey. And it might not lead to different places. So what I'd like to do in this presentation is to talk about what has worked and what hasn't worked from my personal experiences and perspective, and hopefully some of it could resonate with you, and maybe afterwards we can share stories about what works and what doesn't work, because things are changing very fast and it's all a learning process for all of us. So first I'll start off with what is AI, defining that landscape, AI in banking, the banking's prospects in AI, with AI. Again, this is my personal opinion with it. And then the vision for the future, talk about some ambient computing resources and some ideas about that. So it used to be like, oh, 2020 is the future, but we're already 2019, so we moved it out to 2028. So what will that be? Will it be a utopia or a dystopia? And the truth is, like, anything used for good can also be used for bad. So I'm going to restrict or limit this presentation to what I see are beneficial and useful cases of machine learning and artificial intelligence for humanity. And personally, I'm very optimistic, and I understand there's a lot of pessimism and a lot of attention around potential issues with AI. I'll talk about that a little bit. But in just 15 years, like 52% of the S&P 500 has vanished. And that rate has accelerated over time. If you look at that chart on the left of the lifetime of a large corporate company, especially operating globally. And a lot of this can be attributed to technology. And as we all know, a lot of the big tech companies, only 10 years ago, they weren't in the S&P 500. So how did you go bankrupt? Two ways: gradually and then suddenly. This is a quote from Ernest Hemingway in The Sun Also Rises. So with that, that's why a lot of companies and corporations pay heavy attention to any development in technologies these days. Like blockchain, when blockchain was a big hype in 2017 and early 2018, a lot of companies paid attention and didn't want to lose out on that. And it's the same thing that's been happening with machine learning and AI in the past 10 years. So, like, why is that? Why do large companies disappear from the S&P 500 like that? Well, the issue is that incumbents often lack ability to adapt and incorporate emerging technologies faster than those startups can gain distribution. So that's why there's always startups coming up and providing value and growing faster before people realize it, and then it's too late. All right, so let's define AI for a bit. For the purpose of this discussion, this is the chart that I'm going to frame AI around. Like you have this big data analytics, which involves data in general. And then AI can be a part of that where you're using that data for artificial intelligence purposes. And artificial intelligence has been pursued through machine learning means. And machine learning can involve things such as supervised learning, reinforcement learning, unsupervised learning, and deep learning can involve those things. So, these definitions it's not black and white, there's gray area, and people have different ways of defining it. But for the purpose of this discussion, we'll stick with this framework. In order to have AI in a corporation, you need to have that ecosystem to support it. And when I'm talking about ecosystem, I'm talking about not only the artificial intelligence and machine learning models, but also the robotic process automation and orchestration infrastructure to support those models and the results of those. Data and processing capacity, secure cloud enablement. So to scale these days, cloud has been a very useful tool that can be leveraged, especially when we're deploying models that scale at large scale. And finally, strong customer authentication choices. Privacy is a huge concern these days, and the requirement for that is strong customer authentication. So finally, this is one summary of defining AI as a set of algorithms that leverage data to provide capabilities that are designed into user experiences and business processes to create business value. Again, this is for the purposes of this discussion, how we're defining it. So we need to come up with a system of technologies operating together to achieve this goal. And then let's talk about strong versus weak AI. There's a lot of work into strong AI, which is AI that can learn by itself, that can achieve superhuman tasks, be better than humans. On the left there is an example from Jeopardy, where humans are being beat in trivia tasks and games of Go. But for the purpose of this discussion, we're talking about we're not talking about emulating the human mind or performing any task human can. Like we're not trying to create artificial humans for the purpose of this discussion and for the use of AI in businesses at the moment. Like there's efforts in general AI and strong AI, but we're talking about weak and narrow AI. So machine learning methods that are commonly used is supervised learning. So as you know, labeled data is very important. There's a lot of startups springing up just to help companies get labeled data. Cloud services are now offering their data labeling services. And supervised learning, for those not familiar, is essentially you have inputs and you have targets or the labels for those inputs that are predefined so that you can train your model to predict those inputs and targets eventually, such as home prices that depend on the inputs, which are whatever the home details. And then there's deep learning, which has been a breakthrough driving this 10-year boom in AI, the interest in AI, which is learning from hierarchical relationships. So in deep learning, you have a deep neural network, such as a convolutional neural network, and each layer of that neural network learns a certain hierarchy of features in that data set that that eventually define what you're trying to predict. And this chart here shows the performance versus the amount of data. Deep learning has the opportunity to better utilize data to get higher performance. And really, these deep learning models have up to millions of parameters that are involved. So it's essentially like its own memory system, if you think about it. All right, let's talk about that AI landscape. Well, let's talk about supply meets demand. So AI has become more useful and interesting because of access to data, computational power, and advanced models. So these three developments in the past 10 years have made AI and machine learning more practical. And I want to make a comment about access to data. It used to be that you needed a lot of data to train AI models, But actually, more recently, that's not the case anymore. There's transfer learning where you don't need that much data to train good AI models to do what you need to do. Transfer learning and fine-tuning are two things that I'm very interested in and have been working a lot on. So if you have questions about that, talk to me afterwards. But from the business perspective, there's the profitability that comes with machine learning AI, helping with cost reduction, revenue gains, and risk reduction. And there's also the competition. There's an arms race with companies in terms of trying to gather AI talent and AI models and AI capabilities. And then there's regulations on reporting, best execution, anti-money laundering that machine learning and AI could potentially be applied to, or has already been applied to. So with that, maybe we should believe the hype that machine learning and AI is here to stay and will produce a lot of value. This is a chart from Google Trends for the term machine learning. But we shouldn't believe all the hype. You have to be careful. So here's an example of Chihuahua or a muffin. It turns out that these advanced deep learning, machine learning AI models, it can't tell the difference necessarily, and maybe you can't tell the difference, or I can't tell the difference between an AI or Chihuahua and all of these. If I give you 1 minute or less to go through and label them, let's see what your accuracy is. So science fiction might not have gotten it all right. Talking about cyborgs and artificial humans. Let's talk about in banking what have been the uses of machine learning and AI, like the actual current day statistics. 65% in customer service, 52% in back office operations, 42% for financial advisors, 31% in fraud detection, and 29% in risk management. So this is actually where machine learning AI is being used. Again, it's not some science fiction AI, general AI yet, but it is weak AI that is practical and yields benefits. We can think about AI as superpowers for our customers, where our customer is a hero and AI helps them with offense and defense. When I'm talking about offensive superpowers, I'm talking about using natural language understanding to have voice and conversation features for better customer experiences, or biometric security. And then sales and marketing can also use machine learning and AI, for instance, in lead conversion and churn prevention. Shown here is a research study I published previously for telecommunications purposes, where customers were modeled as images, and we use the same ideas for deep convolutional neural networks applied to image recognition, using that to recognize when customers might churn or they're unhappy with their service, so we can better address those issues. All right, so let's talk about the next chapter of where AI might go. And again, this is educated guesses at this point. And how will it evolve? That's the exciting, and that's what we're on a journey for. And we're on a journey building as well. So I'm going to restrict it to banking for now. So digital transformation and the fourth industrial revolution is one way of looking at it, where we have intelligent ambient agents proactively working on our behalf. We don't have to actively generate data for the AI. It could just be collecting data in our surroundings. And of course, privacy is an issue that we have to be cognizant of. But we have things that are always on, always connected, smart devices, these natural interfaces that are IoT enabled, that provide contextual experiences, and it could be proactive as well. And I'm sort of speaking about it vaguely, but I think we all have an idea of what those are in our lives. So we can have updated locations for customers. We can switch default payment cards for businesses, provide packing advice for travel. If it's going to rain, provide advice on that based on weather. Automatic check-ins, provision room keys, push room number notices, order room service. Shades down, music becomes soft. These are things that are happening all around us that we can help utilize and provide synergistic experiences, holistic experiences for customers. So self-driving cars is another exciting aspect. While checking your investment performance automatically while you're in a car, ordering groceries automatic, updating your locations, paying your bills, using a payment micro pay to pass other drivers, e-commerce with delivery to your trunk. These are ideas where banking can be involved. And if you're familiar with large tech companies, the fine line between banking and tech and e-commerce, it's all getting blurred. And that's the weird, like, we're used to separating these ideas, but is it really separate? So we should keep an open mind on these topics. Biometric-based authentication, I already mentioned that, advanced fraud detection, worldview forecast, predictive analytics, collections optimization, computer vision, awareness of the supply chain, smart payment instruction repair, IoT upstream insights. In customer service, voice-based banking and chatbots is an exciting area. Personalized website navigation and intelligent dashboards, like customized dashboards that are intelligent, that's suitable for your needs. Natural language search, like on-the-fly report creation with NLP is being developed and will become a big thing. I see that as a very promising avenue. Leveraging data-rich payloads from real-time payments. So there's a lot of data being generated in the billions in the banking industry. Integrated receivables, auto-match incoming payments with invoices, incomplete, separately attached or missing remittance info, who's paying for what. Reduce manual effort with automation, a lot of automation that could happen. Matching algorithms, watch experience, account receivable clerks to learn, to correct exceptions and prevent future errors. Post receivables faster, improve straight-through reconciliation of incoming payments to help post receivables faster, decrease days sales outstanding and free cash flow. I mean, these are getting really specific into certain areas of banking. Customer service, like natural language understanding, I already mentioned that, but imagine the ability to ask what time is the branch nearby my home open, and it will automatically respond, 6 p.m. So that you can get the answers to the questions you need faster so that you can be more efficient, so you don't have to search through websites or get on the phone to call customer service and wait for minutes to hours. Reporting is a big thing. There's a lot of human and auto-generated reports, so dependencies and references between reports. So how do you reconcile that? Other banking applications include analyzing using OCR and NLP for these reports. So a lot of reports are handwritten or they're photographed or scanned, and how do you automate all that how do you digitize all of that? That's a huge area that there's been progress, but there's actually still limitations in OCR. If you're interested in that, talk to me. I can tell you all about my research with OCR. So cross-comparing reports in time and content. So temporal analysis is a big thing. We now have the ability with machine learning AI to look at how things vary with time as well. And so these improvements should help with accuracy and compliance. And the list goes on: automated trading, risk analysis management, conversational banking, fraud prevention, payments. But what business problem are you solving for? That's the question that you need to ask for yourself. Right here, I've been throwing out a lot of things, and there is a lot of things, and it's not exhaustive. So let's talk about key drivers of risk quickly, and then we'll wrap up because time is running out. Accuracy and objective. Does the model accurately forecast the outcome that you want? And first, you have to define what that outcome you want is. Many times, the business lines that I deal with, they're not able to articulate what is that value they need, because we need, as machine learning engineers, I need to work with the business line to understand that business objective. So in order to come up with an accuracy metric. And there are a lot of metrics out there, and what metrics do you use? F1 score, macro average, AUC, precision recall, all of that. There's a bunch of metrics out there, which is the correct one to use. So you don't want to forecast and then have unintended consequences happening with the business line. So I also see that there's educational need, even if you're not actively an engineer or working as a tech contributor. Like even if you're in the business or marketing, there's a need to understand what, again, metrics are, accuracy metrics, and machine learning at a general level, what it can and cannot do. Transparency is a big thing, especially in banking. You need to be able to explain why your algorithm reached a certain conclusion in human terms. There were some sessions about credit analysis and extending credit. That's probably the most obvious one. Is your algorithm racially discriminatory in any way? Because that would be illegal. So those are things to think about. So there has to be clear documentation on the model development, the deployment, the maintenance, and what that model, how it was developed, what are those aspects. So explainability and transparency with the models is important. And then that leads to bias and ethics. Just because we can do certain things doesn't mean that we should do it. So that's the thing that we have to be cognizant of as well. So does the model contribute to unfair treatment of certain individuals? These are things that we have to consider as well. It's not just trying to get the most accurate model. It's how do you get the most fair model? All right, so my time is up, but do your homework, avoid fear of missing out, be educated on what you pursue. And yeah, I'll be available to talk afterwards if you guys are interested. Okay, I think that's it.